The night Richard collapsed at Amaka's family gate became the night everything changed. The world they once held together with trembling hands finally shattered into pieces too sharp to gather. Amaka screamed until her voice broke, until neighbors rushed out in confusion, until her father ran forward to lift Richard from the ground. His body was heavy, limp, frighteningly cold. His blood stained Amaka's hands, her wrapper, the concrete floor beneath them. Her mother shouted for water. Someone ran inside. Someone else shouted for a car. Someone else began praying loudly. But Amaka heard none of it. She knelt beside Richard, clutching his shirt, shaking him gently, whispering his name like a prayer she hoped the night would answer. Richard, Richard, please. Please don't leave me. Please wake up. His eyelashes fluttered weakly. His breath came out in soft, broken gasps. And though his voice was barely a whisper, the words he spoke clung to the air like thorns. My mother, she tried to finish it. The world around Amaka tilted. She felt the ground slipping away from under her, as if she were falling into a pit with no end. How could any mother, choose violence over love? How could a heart that carried a child for 9 months now carry such darkness? How could the woman who prayed over him now try to kill him? No explanation made sense. But the blood on Richard's clothes was real. The bruises on his face were real. The terror in his eyes was real. And the stench of betrayal lingered like smoke. Her father lifted Richard from the ground, his arms trembling as he tried to support the weight of the young man he had come to love like a son. Get the car, he shouted. Hurry! He's going into shock. Amaka, hysterical, followed closely, her hands trembling uncontrollably. Tenny stood at the side of the gate, frozen, guilt and horror glued to her face. She whispered frantic prayers under her breath, begging for forgiveness that the wind refused to carry. The drive to the hospital felt like an eternity. Amaka's mother drove with shaking hands, honking wildly at cars that refused to give way, headlights blurring through her tears. In the back seat, Amaka held Richard's head on her lap, whispering through tears, "Stay with me, stay with me, stay with me." At one point, his eyes rolled back, his breath hitched, his fingers twitched like a dying flame. Amaka screamed for him, slapped his cheeks lightly, begged him not to leave her. "Please, Richard, don't die, don't die." The car screeched to a stop at the hospital entrance. Nurses rushed forward, lifting him onto a stretcher and wheeling him inside. The bright hospital lights fell harsh, too bright for the darkness they carried inside them. "Madam, stay outside." "Madam, give him space." "Madam, he's losing blood." Voices flooded around her. She collapsed into her mother's arms. Her whole body shook violently. Fear had taken hold of her and refused to let go. Hours passed. Hours without answers. Hours of pacing the corridors like a ghost. Hours of praying, screaming, begging God to do something. Anything. Her parents sat beside her, their eyes red, their hearts weary. Tenny kept her distance, sitting far away with her back pressed against the wall, her knees pulled up, her tears soaking her clothes. She knew this was partly her fault. If she hadn't started the fire, the flames wouldn't have spread this far. After what felt like forever, a doctor finally emerged. His scrubs were stained with blood. His face carried the weight of someone who had just battled life and death. "Are you his family?" he asked. Amaka stumbled forward. Yes, please." The doctor sighed. "He's alive." Amaka fell to her knees in relief, her sobs echoing down the corridor. Her mother bent to help her, crying too. But the doctor continued, and the hallway fell silent again. "But he suffered a severe blow to the head. We've managed to stop the bleeding, but he's not stable yet. He's unconscious. He may remain that way for hours or days." "Days," Amaka whispered, her voice trembling. "Please tell me he'll wake up." "We hope so," the doctor said gently, "but the situation is delicate." Amaka felt the world blur. Her vision darkened. She swayed, and her father caught her. "When can I see him?" she asked, barely able to stand. "In a few minutes," the doctor replied. As they waited, the hospital hallway seemed colder. The air tasted metallic. Even the chairs felt unfriendly. Amaka sat with her mother, holding her hands tightly, and then her phone buzzed. She looked down. A message from an unknown number. Her blood froze. "It's not over," she gasped. Her mother snatched the phone. "What is it?" she asked. Amaka could barely speak. Someone is still watching us." Her father frowned deeply. "Show me." Another message arrived instantly. "If he wakes up, everything ends. Make sure he doesn't talk." Amaka screamed and threw the phone across the floor. Nurses turned to look. Her parents grabbed her shoulders, trying to calm her. Tenny stood up instantly, terrified. "It's him. It's Segan. It has to be him." "No," Amaka whispered, shaking violently. "This looks like someone else." Her mother held her face. "Who else, my child? Who else hates you?" Amaka's eyes filled with terror. Her voice cracked into a whisper. "Richard's mother." Her father clenched his fists. "Where is that woman? I will—" "Wait," Amaka cried, pulling him back. If she could do this, if she could plan this far, she might try again. Another message arrived. Her father picked up the phone and read it aloud. "You can hide in the hospital for now. But remember, mothers don't lose battles. I will not allow that girl to ruin my son's life." Amaka dropped to the floor, screaming in horror. Her mother began to shake uncontrollably. Her father punched the wall, so hard his knuckles bled. Tenny cried so loudly that nurses rushed toward them. Everyone in the hallway stared. Amaka's voice cracked. "She's not stopping. She's not stopping. She won't stop until one of us dies." Before anyone could speak, a nurse rushed toward them. "Please come," she said urgently. "There's a problem in his room." Amaka screamed. She ran down the hallway barefoot, heart pounding like thunder. The world spun around her. She pushed through doors, ignoring the nurse's calls. She reached Richard's room and froze. A figure was standing beside his bed, dressed in a long wrapper, headscarf tied neatly, back turned to the door, a purse resting on the side table. It was Richard's mother. Her hand hovered dangerously close to Richard's furline. Amaka screamed so loudly the walls shook. "Mama, don't touch him." Richard's mother turned slowly. Her face was calm, too calm, and she whispered, "You should have stayed away." That was the moment Amaka knew. The real battle had just begun. The kind of battle that destroys families. The kind of battle that ends love stories. The kind of battle where someone must lose, and lose everything. Amaka froze at the doorway, her scream still echoing through the hospital walls. Richard's mother turned with the slow, deliberate calm of someone who no longer cared about hiding her intentions. Her shadow stretched across the white floor, long and sharp, like a knife drawn in silence. She didn't step away from the four-line. She didn't smile. She didn't flinch. She only stared at Amaka with a look that held no fear, not a drop of guilt, not a hint of hesitation. "Why are you here?" Amaka whispered, her voice trembling like the last thread of a torn cloth. Richard's mother sighed deeply, as if tired of pretending. "Because I am doing what you should have done. I am protecting my son." Amaka shook her head violently. "Protecting him? From what? From me?" "Yes," the older woman replied without blinking. "You are poison to him. A soft poison, the kind that destroys slowly." Amaka clutched her chest. "How can you say that? I love him." Richard's mother stepped toward her. "Then leave him. Walk away, and I will walk away from this." Amaka's knees buckled slightly. "No." "Then accept the consequences," the older woman said quietly, turning back toward the bed. Amaka rushed forward instinctively, gripping her hand before she could touch the floor. "Don't you dare." The older woman turned sharply, her eyes blazing. "Remove your hand." "No." Amaka cried. In an instant, the struggle erupted, quiet but full of terror. Richard's mother tried to push Amaka away. Amaka tried to hold her back. Their bodies collided in small, frantic movements. The four lines swayed dangerously. Machines beeped loudly. Richard's unmoving body lay between them, like a sacrifice waiting to be claimed. "Help!" Amaka screamed. "Somebody help." Her mother and father burst into the room at once. Her father rushed forward, pulling Richard's mother away from the bed. Her mother held Amaka tightly as she shook uncontrollably. "What is wrong with you?" Amaka's father shouted at the older woman. "Are you mad? This is your son." "He is my son," she spat, "and it is because of him I am doing this." A nurse ran in, then another. They separated the older woman, restraining her gently but firmly. The entire hospital wing stirred with commotion. Patients peeked out from half-open curtains. A doctor rushed in, his face pale and tense. "What is happening here?" he demanded. Amaka pointed at Richard's mother, still shaking. She tried to touch his fore. She wanted to. "I wanted to unplug a mistake," the older woman shouted. "I wanted to save my son from this girl." A sharp gasp rose from the nurses. The doctor's face hardened. "Ma'am, step outside. Now." Richard's mother glared at Amaka. "You will regret destroying my family. I swear on everything I own." The nurses escorted her out. Even as she continued shouting, her wrapper swaying like a flag of war behind her. Once she was gone, Amaka collapsed beside Richard's bed. Her tears soaked the bedsheet. Her hands trembled as she clung to his arm. Her father knelt beside her. "My daughter, you must be strong." But she couldn't be strong anymore. Not after the night attack. Not after the messages. Not after the confrontation. Not after the attempt on Richard's life. Not after the woman who birthed him tried to finish what she started. She cried harder, her voice breaking. "Why me? Why is all this happening to me? What did I do to deserve this?" Her mother hugged her tightly. "Life tests the strongest hearts. And yours is strong." Tenny stood in the doorway, tears streaming silently. She didn't dare step closer. She held the doorframe like a lifeline, guilt swallowing her from the inside. After hours of chaos, the hospital enforced security in Richard's room. 2 guards stood outside. They assured Amaka that no unauthorized person, not even family, would enter without verification. When everyone finally left the room except Amaka, she sat in the silent glow of the machines. The rhythmic beeping seemed to mock her, each beep a reminder that Richard was alive, but not with her, present but unreachable, breathing but silent. She held his hand gently. "I'm here," she whispered. "Please wake up. Please fight for me. For us." Her tears fell onto his knuckles. As hours passed into night, the hospital grew quiet again. Nurses whispered in the hallways. The lights dimmed. Night guards patrolled slowly. And Amaka remained beside Richard, refusing to leave for even a second. Just past midnight, when exhaustion finally pulled her eyes halfway closed, her phone buzzed again. A message from an unknown number. Her body tensed instantly. She unlocked the phone with shaking hands. One sentence blinked on the screen. "Round 2 begins soon." Her breath caught. Her fingers hovered over the screen. Another message came. "You think it's only his mother? You have no idea how many people want this wedding dead." Amaka dropped the phone, letting out a choked sob. She covered her mouth to stop herself from waking the entire hospital. Who else? Who else was involved? She glanced around the dark hospital room, suddenly feeling watched, observed, hunted. Her fear rose like a fever. She pressed her forehead against Richard's hand and cried until her tears ran dry. By morning, everyone arrived again, her parents, Tenny, even Richard's cousins who had heard of the attack. But something felt different. Something felt heavier, darker, like trouble had entered the building and refused to leave. At noon, the police arrived. The officer in charge was stern, middle-aged, with a face shaped by years of dealing with crime and sorrow. He sat with Amaka and Richard's family and asked for the details. Everyone spoke in fragments, voices trembling. Finally, the officer sighed deeply. "This is not a domestic misunderstanding," he said. "This is attempted murder." Amaka shivered. "We will open a formal case," he continued. "But you should prepare yourselves." "For what?" her father asked nervously. The officer closed his notebook slowly. "For a family war." Richard's mother refused to cooperate. She denied everything. She called her son's injuries an accident. She said Amaka and her parents were framing her. She insisted she was being persecuted. The hospital prevented her from entering, but informed the family she could not be arrested without evidence. And then, just when the day seemed like it couldn't twist any further, the doctor approached with a new expression on his face. Serious, troubled, hiding something. "Madam Amaka," he said slowly, "we need to talk." Amaka wiped her tears. "Yes." He inhaled deeply. "When your fiancé fell unconscious, we ran a series of scans. Something unexpected came up." Amaka's throat tightened. "What is it?" The doctor hesitated. "It appears," he said softly, "that someone tried to poison him as well, not just attack him physically." Amaka's vision blurred. "Poison?" Her knees buckled. Her father caught her swiftly. "Poison?" her mother gasped. "What do you mean, poison?" The doctor handed a printed medical report. "His blood shows traces of a rare chemical substance. Not lethal if treated, but dangerous." Amaka's world spun faster. Who did this? Why? How long had this been going on? Her breath cracked into sobs. "Why? Why are they doing this to us?" she whispered. The doctor placed a hand on her shoulder gently. "There's one thing you should know," he said. Everyone leaned closer. He lowered his voice. "This substance was administered more than once. Whoever is doing this has been close to him for a while." Amaka felt the floor vanish under her feet. Tenny cried harder. Her parents were speechless. And then the officer stepped forward, clearing his throat. "I think it's time we tell her," he said quietly. Amaka wiped her face nervously. "Tell me what?" The officer exchanged a look with the doctor, then with her parents. "Last night, after your fiancé was admitted, someone tried to enter the hospital disguised as staff." Amaka gasped. "What?" "They were carrying something," the officer said. "A small vial." He paused. "It contained the same poison." Amaka choked on air. Her mother grabbed her tightly. Jesus Christ. Richard's father collapsed into a chair. "And the worst part," the officer finished grimly, "is that the person escaped when confronted. But we have part of the CCTV footage." Amaka's heart hammered. "Who was it?" she whispered. The officer swallowed. "We couldn't see the full face, but we saw the silhouette." Everyone waited. Seconds passed like hours. Finally, he said, "It wasn't his mother." Amaka froze. Her blood turned cold. "Then who?" she whispered. The officer hesitated again. Then he said the name that broke the room into pieces. "The CCTV shows a woman shaped like..." He paused. Then, "Someone very close to you, Amaka." Her heart stopped. He continued, "Someone who visited your house often." Amaka shook her head violently. "No, who?" The officer inhaled. "Your cousin, Chioma." Amaka screamed. The scream that tore from Amaka's throat echoed to the hospital corridors like something wild, wounded, and ancient. It didn't sound human. It sounded like a heart shattering in real time. Nurses rushed toward her. Patients peeked out from their curtains. Her mother clutched her chest and cried out to God. Her father froze in disbelief, his mouth open, his body shaking. Tenny pressed herself against the wall, her hands over her ears, tears pouring down her cheeks. Chioma? Her own blood? No. Amaka kept whispering as she paced backward, her hands trembling so badly she could barely keep balance. "It can't be her, it can't be Chioma." Her mother moved toward her. "My daughter, calm down." "Don't touch me." Amaka screamed, staggering away. "How can it be her?" "Chioma, my own cousin. We grew up together. We slept on the same mat. We wore the same clothes. We shared one plate as children. She calls me her sister." She collapsed against the wall, sliding down until she sat on the cold tiles, cried like a child who'd lost everything. No, Chioma can't do this to me." But the officer's voice remained firm. "The silhouette matches her. The height, the shape, the walk, the build, everything. And she was in this hospital last night. The staff remember seeing her." Amaka's father clenched his fists. "But why? Why would she want to hurt Amaka? Why poison Richard?" The officer shook his head. "That's what we need to find out. But someone working with the enemy is always the greatest danger. Amaka's mind raced through memories like a tornado. Chioma helping her choose wedding colors. Chioma hugging her whenever she cried. Chioma defending her in front of neighbors. Chioma saying, "You deserve the best, my sister." A cold shiver ran through her spine. Chioma always said the best things, always said the right things, always appeared supportive, always offered help. But now, those words twisted into something darker. The officer approached calmly. "Madam Amaka, when was the last time you saw her?" Amaka wiped her face shakily. 2 days ago. She came to visit. She brought food. She sat with me in my room. She said she came to check on me because of all the stress. The officer nodded slowly. "And did she ask anything unusual?" Amaka hesitated. Then she remembered. A detail so small she'd forgotten it. She asked when Richard would travel next. Her mother gasped. Her father shouted, "Jesus Christ," and slammed his fist against the wall. The officer's face turned grim. She was gathering information. Amaka trembled violently. But why poison him? Why attack him? Why work with his mother? The officer sighed. Some betrayals come from jealousy, some from money, some from old wounds, some from people who smile with you by day and hate you by night. Amaka shook her head helplessly. "No, not Chioma. She can't hate me. She can't." Tenny whispered brokenly from the corner. "Sometimes the people closest to you hide the darkest shadows." But Amaka could barely hear her. Her heart felt like it was bleeding inside her chest. "I need to see the footage," she said suddenly. The officer hesitated. "It's not clear." "I want to see the footage," she shouted, her voice filled with desperation. The officer nodded and motioned for her to follow him. Her parents trailed behind her anxiously. Tenny walked slowly, ashamed and frightened. They entered a small security room filled with monitors. The officer clicked through footage until one grainy clip appeared. A woman wearing nurse scrubs, face hidden under a surgical mask, head bowed, carrying a small vial, walking confidently toward Richard's wing. Another angle. When the nurse turned slightly, just enough to show the side of her head, Amaka's heart collapsed. She recognized the hairstyle under the cap, the small birthmark near the jawline, the way she carried her left shoulder slightly lower than the right. It was Chioma. She covered her mouth, dropped to her knees, and sobbed violently. Her mother screamed in horror. Her father shouted curses under his breath. The officer shook his head. Tenny cried even harder. Amaka couldn't breathe. The betrayal was too deep to comprehend. It wasn't just an attack. It wasn't just jealousy. It was someone from her own bloodline attempting to end her happiness. Someone who had eaten in her home, shared her secrets, hugged her during her pain. Someone she trusted with her life. The officer knelt beside her. "We will find her. We have already sent officers to her house." Amaka's voice cracked. "What if she comes here again?" "We have guards stationed," he reassured. "You're safe here." But Amaka didn't feel safe. Not anymore. Because danger was no longer from strangers. Danger was now family. She finally stood, wiping her tears harshly. Her voice shook, but carried a strength that surprised everyone. "I want to see Richard." Her parents walked her back to the room. Tenny stayed behind, whispering prayers. When Amaka entered Richard's room, she sat beside him and held his hand like it was the last anchor in her sinking world. Her tears dripped onto his skin. "Richard," she whispered. "Wake up. Please wake up. I'm breaking." The machines beeped steadily beside them, the only sign that he was still here. "I need you," she cried softly. "I'm scared. Everyone is turning against us. Everyone wants us apart. Your mother, my cousin, strangers, shadows. I don't know who to trust anymore." She leaned her forehead against his hand, her tears soaking the back of it. "But I know one thing," she whispered. "If you don't wake up, they win. And I lose you. And I can't lose you. I can't." Her voice cracked into a sob. The door creaked open slightly. It was a nurse. A real nurse this time. "Madam, someone is here to see you," she said gently. Amaka frowned. "Who?" The nurse stepped aside, and there stood a man she hadn't seen in years. Her ex-fiancé. The one she left. The one who once vowed revenge. The one who told her she would never find happiness without him. He stepped inside slowly, his face serious. "Amaka," he said quietly. "We need to talk." Amaka's heart stopped. It was him. Another ghost from her past. And from the look in his eyes, he wasn't here to comfort her. He was here with a secret that would unravel everything. Amaka stared at the man standing in the doorway, her breath trapped in her throat. It felt like the walls of the hospital room were slowly closing in, suffocating her. Of all the people she expected to see, her ex-fiancé was the last name on the list. Yet he stood there, tall, confident, serious, dressed in a dark shirt and jeans, his eyes fixed on her with a strange expression. For a moment, she thought grief and exhaustion had made her hallucinate. She blinked slowly, but he was still there. He stepped further into the room, his shoes clicking softly on the tiled floor. His eyes swept over Richard's unconscious body on the bed, the machines humming softly, the 4-line dripping rhythmically. Something unreadable flickered in his expression, something too quick to catch. "Amaka," he repeated softly, a voice she once knew too well. "We need to talk." Amaka swallowed hard, her palms sweaty. "Why are you here?" she whispered. "How did you even know I was here?" He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he shut the door quietly behind him. The motion made Amaka flinch, and her mother, who had been dozing in the corner, jolted awake. "Who are you?" her mother asked sharply, instantly alert. He offered a small smile. "Good afternoon, Ma. My name is Chaik." At the mention of his name, Amaka's mother stiffened. "Chaik? That Chaik? The one who—" "Yes," Amaka said quickly, wiping her face. "It's him." Her mother rose to her feet instantly, her eyes narrowing with protective suspicion. "What are you doing here? Haven't you done enough to my daughter in this life?" Chaik sighed, running his fingers through his hair. "I know I hurt her in the past. I know I wasn't a good man. But I'm not here to start trouble. I'm here because I know something." Amaka froze. Her mother frowned. The air in the room thickened. Chaik took another step forward. "Can we talk? Just for a moment. Please." "No," Amaka's mother snapped. "Say anything you want to say in front of me. I am not leaving my daughter alone with you." Chaik nodded slowly. "Fine." He turned to Amaka, his eyes softening in a way that made her uneasy. "You look tired," he said gently. "You haven't slept." Amaka stared blankly. "You still haven't answered my question." He inhaled deeply. "I'm here because I heard about what happened. The attack, the poisoning, the family complications." Her mother scoffed. "And how did you hear about it? Who told you?" Chaik's jaw tightened slightly. "Chioma." The name hit the room like a stone thrown into still water. Amaka's voice cracked. What did you say?" Chaik nodded slowly. "She came to my place last night." Amaka felt dizzy for a moment. Her mother gasped. The room seemed to tilt sideways. Chaik continued quietly. She was crying, panicking, saying she was in trouble, saying people were after her. She asked me for money. She begged me to help her disappear. "Oh my God," Amaka whispered, her hand flying to her mouth. "She told me she made a mistake," Chaik said, his voice low. "She said she got involved in something she shouldn't have. Something dangerous. Something she didn't want to be part of anymore." Amaka's mother trembled. "Did she say what?" Chaik hesitated. "She said she was helping someone punish Amaka." Amaka collapsed onto the chair, her legs weak. No, this couldn't be real." He continued. "She said things went too far, that she didn't expect bloodshed. She was crying, shaking, begging me to hide her in my apartment for a few days." Amaka looked up sharply. "Did you hide her?" Chaik shook his head. "I refused. I told her to turn herself in before things got worse." Her mother nodded approvingly. "At least you have sense now." Chaik sighed tiredly. "She said something frightening before she left." Amaka's skin crawled. "What did she say?" He looked at her with genuine concern. "She said Everything happening now is not the main plan. Amaka's heartbeat skyrocketed. What do you mean? Her mother asked fearfully. Chaik's voice lowered. She said the person she's working for isn't done, that they only slowed down because Richard didn't die. Amaka's hands shook violently. He continued. She said, the real plan is not just to hurt Richard. Amaka whispered. Then who? Chaik swallowed hard. To hurt you. Amaka's world stood still. She said something. He continued shakily. Something about finishing what they started. That someone closer than you think, someone you consider family, wants to make sure you lose everything. Amaka couldn't breathe. She felt like her spirit left her body. And she said, Chaik whispered, if you don't stop fighting, they will destroy every part of your life, including the people you love. Amaka's eyes widened with horror. Who? Who is she talking about? Chaik shook his head helplessly. She didn't say. She only cried and said she was too scared to talk. Amaka's mother grabbed her daughter's hand tightly. The room felt colder, the air heavier. A darkness crawled into the corners of the room. So, Chaik said softly, I came here to warn you. Someone is coming for you. And it's not just Chioma. The real person is hiding behind her. Tears streamed down Amaka's face. Why? She whispered painfully. Why are they doing this to me? Chaik sighed deeply. Some people hate to see others happy, especially when they believe that happiness should have belonged to them. Amaka stared at him, her chest rising and falling with panic. Why would you help me? She whispered. Chaik met her eyes steadily. Because no matter how much we fought, I never wished you dead. A tear slipped from his eye. And because I know what it feels like, he added quietly, to love someone and watch them get destroyed. Amaka's mother looked at him suspiciously. Is that the only reason you're here? Chaik hesitated. Then he said something he hadn't planned to say. There's one more thing. Amaka tensed. What? Chaik looked down, his voice shaking. Your cousin, Chioma, she told me something else before running out of my place. What? Amaka whispered. Chaik raised his head slowly. She said this isn't about jealousy. Amaka froze. She said this isn't about love either. Her breath trembled. She said it's about a secret. A shiver crawled across Amaka's spine. A secret that involved your family. Chaik continued softly. A secret someone has been hiding for years. Amaka's mother stiffened. Her father stepped closer. Even the machines seemed to quiet down. What secret? Her mother asked slowly. Chaik swallowed, fear flickering in his eyes. She said, he whispered, that the person trying to destroy Amaka is doing it because of something Amaka doesn't know about herself. Amaka's heartbeat thundered. What don't I know? She asked breathlessly. Chaik took a deep breath. Then the words left his lips like a bomb. Chioma said, you're not who you think you are. Amaka's world shattered again. Amaka felt the words slam into her chest with the force of 1,000 blows. You're not who you think you are. The sentence echoed in her mind like thunder, refusing to settle, refusing to make sense. She stared at Chaik, her breathing uneven, her skin prickling with cold terror. Her heart pounded so loudly she thought the machines beside Richard would pick up the rhythm. What does that mean? She whispered, her voice trembling. Chaik swallowed hard. I don't know exactly. Chioma didn't explain. She just kept saying you're not who everyone thinks you are. That there's something about your birth, something hidden, something dangerous. Amaka's mother stepped forward instantly, protective fury rising in her eyes. What nonsense he's saying. Who is not who? My daughter is my daughter. But her voice wavered, just slightly, and in that tiny shake, something inside Amaka broke. She turned slowly toward her mother. Mummy, she whispered, why did you say it like that? Her mother blinked fast. Say what? You said my daughter is my daughter, but your voice, it shook. I am tired, her mother snapped quickly. I am stressed. But her eyes avoided Amaka's. Her father walked toward them, confusion and worry lining his face. Let's all calm down. Amaka stepped back from him too. Her hands trembled. Her voice cracked. Daddy, look at me. He hesitated. then forced himself to meet her eyes. Amaka felt her stomach twist. "Chioma said someone is targeting me," she whispered, "because of a secret tied to my family. Something I don't know about. Something hidden from me. Something that is making people hate me. What is it?" Her mother shook her head quickly. "There is no secret. There is nothing." But Amaka heard it, the fear in her mother's voice. "Mummy," she whispered again, tears pooling, "please don't lie to me. Not now. Not with Richard lying unconscious. Not with people trying to kill us. Please, am I missing something about my life?" Her mother looked at her husband helplessly. He rubbed his forehead, pacing. "Mama, answer her." Amaka's father said softly, his voice breaking, "It is time." Her mother whipped toward him. "No, not now. It is time," he repeated firmly, pain filling his voice. "You have kept this thing for too long, and now the world is paying the price." Amaka's body went numb. She stared at her mother, betrayal rising like bile in her throat. "Mummy," she whispered, stronger now, "tell me the truth." Her mother's lips trembled. Her eyes welled with uncontrollable tears. Finally, she sank onto a chair, covering her face with her hands, sobbing deeply. "I'm sorry," she cried. "I'm sorry, my child. I did it for your safety." Amaka's knees nearly buckled. "What safety? What are you talking about?" Her mother removed her hands from her face slowly. Her eyes were swollen, her voice shaking violently. "You are not our biological daughter." Those words tore the air apart. Amaka staggered backward, as if someone had physically pushed her. Her father tried to hold her, but she pulled away, shaking uncontrollably. "No," she whispered. "No, no, no." Her mother sobbed harder. "We didn't want you to ever find out like this." "Mummy, what are you saying?" Amaka screamed, her voice breaking. "I'm not your daughter." "Since when? How?" Her father stepped forward gently. "You were brought to us when you were only 2 months old. We were asked to keep you safe. We were told not to tell anyone." Amaka's breath broke. "By who?" Her mother's lips trembled. "A woman, your biological mother." Amaka's vision blurred with tears. "My real mother?" Her father nodded. "She was running from someone. Someone powerful. Someone who wanted you dead." A scream ripped from Amaka's throat. This couldn't be real. This was madness. Her whole life a lie. Her entire identity a secret. Her whole existence threatened before she could even talk. Chaik swallowed heavily. "So this is the reason someone is coming after her?" Her father nodded painfully. "Yes." Amaka collapsed onto the nearest chair, her body trembling violently. "Why? Why would anyone want me dead? I'm just a normal girl. I'm nobody." Her mother cried harder. "You're not nobody, and that is the problem." The room grew cold. "What does that mean?" Amaka whispered. Her father sat beside her, tears forming in his eyes. "Your real mother was from a powerful family, a wealthy family, a family with enemies. She had you with a man her family despised. They tried to force her to give you up, but she refused." Amaka stared blankly at him. "They threatened to kill you," her father continued softly. "So she ran. She came to us because we were her closest friends. She begged us to raise you as our own." Amaka sobbed loudly. "Why didn't you take me back? Why didn't you tell me?" Her mother shook her head painfully. "Because she died. She died 2 weeks after leaving you with us. And the man she loved, he died too. Their enemies succeeded. We hid you. We changed your name. We removed all ties to your past. But they didn't forget," Chaik whispered. "They must have found out you're alive." Amaka's heart exploded with fear. She was shaking so violently her teeth chattered. "So all this," she whispered, "all these attacks, all this hatred. Richard's mother, Chioma, Segan, everyone, it's because of something that happened when I was a baby, before I even knew myself." Her mother nodded, crying. "Yes, my child. Someone from your past, someone powerful, is still looking for you. They want to erase everything connected to your real parents." Amaka felt like her soul was slipping out of her body. Richard unconscious. His mother trying to kill her, Chioma working with her, a stranger poisoning him, a mysterious enemy hunting her, her entire life a lie, her roots disappeared, her identity stolen, her safety an illusion. She felt faint. "But who?" she whispered. Who was behind all this? The officer who had been standing quietly in the corner cleared his throat. "We might know," he said, "or at least we have a clue." Everyone turned to him. He held up his phone. "We traced the number that sent you those threatening messages." Amaka's eyes widened. "It belongs to a man." Her heart pounded. A very wealthy man. Her breath caught. A man who has been searching for someone for over 24 years. Her entire body went cold. And then he said the name. A name Amaka had never heard in her life, but a name her parents reacted to instantly with horror. Chief Obiorunwagu. Her mother gasped violently. Her father stumbled backward. Even Chike froze. Amaka trembled. Who is that?" Her mother covered her mouth. "My child, that is your real grandfather." Amaka's scream filled the entire hospital. Amaka felt her entire world rip open like a cloth caught on fire. "Grandfather? The man trying to kill me is my grandfather?" Her knees weakened instantly, and she dropped onto the nearest chair, gripping the armrest with trembling fingers. Her mother cried openly now, her eyes red and swollen. Her father paced the room like someone who had been suddenly thrown into a storm after years of silence. Chief Obiorunwagu. That name tasted like poison, like something ancient, dangerous, and forbidden. Amaka whispered it slowly, tasting the sharp edges of her own fate. "Chief Obiorunwagu, please stop saying the name," her mother begged, covering her face. "You don't know the kind of man he is." Amaka turned to her with shaking lips. "Then tell me what he is, because right now I feel like I'm living in a nightmare that started before I was even born." Her father wiped his forehead, his voice shaking. "He is not just any man. He is a kingmaker, a landowner, a man with soldiers for bodyguards, a man who controls politicians, a man who decides elections, a man people fear more than death." Amaka shivered, her hands ice cold. Why would someone like that want to kill a baby? "Me?" Her mother sobbed harder. "Because you were proof of something he wanted erased." "Which is?" Amaka asked, her voice barely a whisper. Her father sat beside her slowly, his eyes filled with grief. "Your mother, your biological mother, was his only daughter." Amaka gasped sharply, her breath hitching. "And she fell in love with a man her father hated," he continued. "A man from a rival family. A man with no wealth. A man Chief Obiora forbade her from ever seeing." Amaka felt tears burn her eyes. "But she loved him deeply," her father whispered. "And when you were conceived, her father nearly lost his mind." Amaka leaned forward, her heart pounding. "What did he do?" Her mother looked away, unable to speak. Her father inhaled deeply. "He ordered her to get rid of the pregnancy." Amaka felt nausea rise in her throat. "But she refused," he said. "She ran. She hid. She begged us to protect you." Amaka shook her head slowly. "So he wanted to punish her by killing me?" Her father nodded painfully. "To him, you represented betrayal, rebellion, shame, a stain on his legacy. And even though he killed your father and your mother died later, he never found you." Amaka held her chest, gasping for air. "So he thinks I'm dead." Her mother wiped her face. "Until recently." The officer stepped forward. "We believe someone close to you, the wrong person, leaked information. That's how he knew to begin searching again." Amaka's tears fell uncontrollably. "Chioma! Oh my God, it was Chioma. She must have told him." The officer nodded. "It's possible. Chief Obiora pays well for secrets. And people like Chioma, young, confused, desperate, can be easily manipulated." Amaka buried her face in her hands. Everything around her collapsed. The walls, the air, the feeling of home. Nothing felt real anymore. She felt like a stranger in her own life, like someone who had been living inside another woman's name. After several minutes of silence, She lifted her head slowly. "So what now?" she asked. "What happens now? Do we just sit and wait for him to strike again?" Her father squeezed her hand tightly. "No, we protect you." The officer nodded. "We're opening a case. But you have to be careful. This man is powerful. Even the police fear him." Amaka's stomach dropped. How powerful? "He can make a whole criminal case disappear overnight," the officer said. "He can buy judges. He can influence governors. He has private men working for him, men who don't report to the government." Amaka trembled. This was more than she could handle, more than anyone should have to endure. Her mother stroked her hair. "We will leave here. We will go somewhere safe." Amaka shook her head violently. "No, I'm not leaving Richard." Her father sighed. "You can't stay in this hospital forever." "I'm not going anywhere without him," she insisted, tears spilling again. "He fought for me. He almost died for me. I won't abandon him." Just then, as if God had chosen that exact moment to break the tension, the monitor beside Richard beeped loudly. Everyone turned instantly. Amaka jumped to her feet. "Richard?" A nurse rushed in. "What's happening?" The machine beeped again. Then Richard's hand twitched. Amaka gasped. "Richard?" His eyelids fluttered. His fingers moved. "Doctor!" the nurse yelled. A team of medical staff rushed into the room. They surrounded the bed, checking his vitals. "Richard," Amaka whispered, grabbing his hand. "It's me. I'm here. Please wake up." His eyelids lifted slowly, just barely. "Richard," she whispered again, sobbing. His lips parted. He struggled to breathe, struggled to speak. But the first thing he whispered was her name. "Amaka." Amaka broke into tears and collapsed onto bed beside him. "I'm here. I'm here. Oh my God, I'm here." His mother burst into the room at that moment, pushing through nurses. "My son," she cried. "Oh my God, my son." But Richard's eyes moved slowly toward her, and what Amaka saw next sent shivers racing down her spine. Fear, pure fear. He recognized her. He remembered what she did. He shivered weakly and tried to pull his hand away. His mother froze in disbelief. "Richard," she whispered. "What is it?" "My son." Richard whispered one sentence, barely audible, but enough to shatter the room again. "Don't let her near me." His mother staggered backward, her hands shaking. Amaka held his hand tightly, crying harder. "Richard, you're safe," she whispered shakily. "I'm here, you're safe now." But then Richard's eyes widened, not at his mother, not at Amaka, but at the hallway behind them. His breathing became erratic. His hands trembled. He pointed weakly toward the open door. Amaka turned, and her heart stopped cold. Standing at the end of the hallway, wearing a nurse uniform, mask pulled down, eyes wide and wild, was Chioma. Their eyes locked, and Chioma whispered, "Amaka, run." Then she bolted down the hallway. Tenny screamed. Nurses panicked. Security ran after her. Amaka froze in horror. Richard faded back into unconsciousness. But deep in her soul, Amaka knew Chioma wasn't warning her out of guilt. Chioma was warning her because something worse was coming. Something bigger. Something darker. Something that would make all the previous betrayals look small. The real storm had only begun. The moment Chioma's figure disappeared down the corridor, a scream tore through Amaka's chest, one she could not let out. It sat inside her like fire, choking her, burning her lungs, freezing her bones. Everything became noise. Everything became motion. Nurses shouting, guards running, her mother crying, her father cursing under his breath, Tenny sliding down the wall in shock. But all Amaka heard was the echo of Chioma's voice. "Amaka, run." Amaka remained frozen beside Richard's bed, her fingers still wrapped tightly around his limp hand. Her heart slammed violently inside her chest. Her breath came in short, terrified bursts. Richard had just woken up long enough to confirm the nightmare, that his mother had turned against him. Now Chioma was back, wearing a nurse's uniform inside the hospital, with fear in her eyes that didn't belong to someone who was running away. It belonged to someone being chased. Amaka's father rushed to her. "My daughter, let's go. We must leave this place. Now!" But Amaka shook her head, clutching Richard's hand. "No, I'm not leaving him." "Amaka," her mother cried. "They want you, not him, if you stay here." "I'm not leaving him," she repeated, her voice sharp and trembling. "He woke up calling my name. He needs me." Her mother knelt beside her, tears streaming down her face. "My child, this is bigger than you think. This man, this Chief Obiora, he is not someone you stand and wait for. You run from him. You hide from him. He destroys anything that stands in his way." Amaka shook her head violently. "Then let him destroy me. But I'm not leaving the man I love." Her father stood tall, wiping sweat from his forehead. "If she stays, we all stay." A nurse burst back into the room, breathless. "We lost her." "What?" Tenny cried, standing up. "She ran out through the back exit," the nurse said. "Security is still looking, but she's fast. She knows the building well." Amaka's heart dropped. "Of course she does," she whispered to herself. "She was here last night." The officer who had been investigating the case arrived moments later, including 2 more policemen. Their presence created a small bubble of temporary safety. But even that bubble felt fragile, made of thin glass rather than steel. "Everyone, calm down," the officer commanded. "We need details. Amaka." But before he could finish, Amaka's phone vibrated on the bed. She jumped, startled. The room fell silent instantly. She picked up the phone with trembling fingers. A message from an unknown number again. That same deathly fear crawled up her spine. She unlocked the phone. Her vision blurred for a second. The message read, "They found her." Amaka whispered shakily, "Found who?" Another message arrived instantly. "Chioma." Amaka's breath hitched. She showed the officer. Before he could react, another message arrived. "But she won't live long enough to talk." Amaka screamed, dropping the phone. Her mother caught her. Her father shouted for security. Nurses rushed in again. Tenny covered her mouth, shaking violently. The officer picked up the phone, his eyes darkening. "This confirms it. The person behind all this is still watching you. He is moving faster than we expected." Amaka sobbed. "He's going to kill Chioma." The officer shook his head. "Not if we get there first." Her father stepped forward. "Where is she? Where will he take her?" The officer stared at the phone, eyes narrowing. "The messages are coming from near the bus depot. Someone must be trying to escape the city." Amaka grabbed Richard's hand tightly. "I must go there." Her parents gasped. "No!" The officer raised a hand. "You cannot go. It's too dangerous. You don't understand." Amaka cried. "Chioma knows something. Something about me. About him. About all of this. If she dies, I will never know the truth." The officer sighed heavily. "You will wait here. We will go." Amaka dropped to her knees, sobbing. "Please save her. Not for her sake, but for mine, for my peace, for my sanity." The officer nodded. "We will try." He signaled his men, and they rushed out immediately. The room fell into a suffocating quiet once again. Amaka leaned against Richard's bed, holding his hand close to her chest, crying silently. His chest rose and fell gently, still unconscious, still fragile, still fighting. She whispered to him, "Wake up, please. I need you." But Richard didn't move. Minutes turned to hours. Hours crawled like shadows across the walls. Then her phone buzzed again. This time it was a call from the same unknown number. Her hands shook so hard she could barely hold the phone. Her parents hovered close. She answered with a trembling whisper. Hello?" A man's voice responded. Deep, calm, cold, calculated. "Amaka." She froze. She knew immediately who it was. Chief Obiora. She couldn't breathe. Her legs went numb. "Yes," the voice continued. I have been waiting a long time to speak to you. Her mother grabbed her arm, shaking her head frantically, but Amaka couldn't move. She couldn't speak. She couldn't scream. She was trapped in his voice. "You are alive," he said softly. "Just like your mother. Stubborn. Impossible to kill. Too strong for your own good." Tears slid down Amaka's face. What do you want from me?" she whispered. A cold chuckle slipped through the phone. "I want what is mine." Amaka swallowed sharply. "I'm not yours." "You are blood of my blood," he replied, "and blood must be corrected when it goes astray." Amaka shivered violently. "Why are you doing this? Why ruin my life? Why hurt Richard? Why go after Chioma? Why destroy everything?" "Because you," he said slowly, "were never meant to exist." Amaka's cry cracked through the room. Her parents burst into tears. Tenny slumped to the floor, shaking. "Your mother died because she disobeyed me," the man continued. "Your father died because he touched her. And you are the last piece I must erase to restore balance." Amaka fell to her knees. Please let me go. I don't know you. I don't want anything from you." "I don't care what you want," he replied coldly. "You are a threat to my legacy, and threats don't live." "Please," she screamed. The voice didn't flinch. Chioma tried to run. It didn't end well. Amaka felt her soul leave her body. Is she alive? No answer. She screamed again, louder. "Is she alive?" The man sighed. "For now." Her father roared in anger. Her mother sobbed until she choked. Amaka whispered, "Why are you doing this to me? I did nothing to you." "You exist," he replied. "That is enough." The line went silent. Then, just before he hung up, he said the words that shattered her sanity. "It is your turn next." Amaka dropped the phone. Her scream brought the entire hospital running. Richard's machines beeped erratically. Her mother fainted. Tenny cried loudly. Her father cursed the heavens. And Amaka realized the real nightmare had just walked through the front door of her life. Amaka's scream still hung in the air like smoke long after the call ended. Her knees buckled, and she collapsed to the cold hospital floor. Her mother rushed to her, shaking her, crying her name. Her father punched the wall until his knuckles bled. Tenny knelt beside the bed, sobbing uncontrollably. Even the nurses who rushed in froze when they saw the way Amaka's face had turned pale, as if all the blood had drained from her body. The phone lay on the floor, screen cracked, still glowing with the last call. Chief Obioranwagu, her grandfather, the man who had killed her parents, the man who wanted to erase her existence, the man who had been chasing her shadow her whole life, the man who had reached her first through Richard, through poison, through betrayal, through fear. And now he had spoken to her directly. It felt like a curse had just been pronounced. Amaka shook violently. She couldn't breathe. She clawed at her chest, as if ripping something off would let her lungs open again. "No, no, no, no," she whispered over and over. "Why me? Why can't he leave me alone? Why?" Her mother held her tightly. "My daughter, please be strong." "Strong for what?" Amaka cried, her voice breaking. "Everyone wants to kill me. Richard nearly died because of me. Chioma is somewhere suffering because of me. Everything bad happening is because I exist. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you warn me?" Her mother broke into deeper tears. "We thought he would never find you. We thought you were safe with us." "Safe?" Amaka screamed, her face red and swollen. "Do I look safe?" Her father knelt in front of her, forcing her trembling hands into his. "We will protect you, even with our last breath." "How?" Amaka asked, shaking violently. "How do you protect someone from a man who kills without blinking? A man who poisoned his own daughter? A man who has soldiers? Daddy, this is bigger than us. This is bigger than everybody." Before her father could answer, Richard's machine beeped loudly again. Amaka turned instantly, standing on unsteady legs. She rushed to his bedside, grabbed his hand, and pressed her forehead to it. "Richard," she whispered through tears, "please wake up. I need you. I can't fight this alone." For 1 second, just one, his fingers twitched. Amaka gasped. "Richard?" He didn't respond again. The doctor rushed in, examined him, and sighed. "He's reacting to voices." "That's good, but he's still very weak. Any emotional stress could be fatal." Amaka nodded, wiping her face. But inside, she felt broken. Minutes later, the officer returned with a grim expression. "We found Chioma," he said. Amaka jerked up immediately. "Is she alive?" The officer hesitated. Her heart dropped. Just as she was about to collapse again, he nodded slowly. "She's alive." "Barely." Amaka cried out in relief. "But," the officer continued, "she was attacked. Brutally. She's in critical condition. We moved her to a different hospital for safety. She may not survive the night." Tenny screamed and fell to the floor. Amaka covered her mouth, sobbing, "Chioma, oh God." Chioma. Her cousin was many things. A betrayer, a liar, a conspirator. But she had grown up in the same house. They had shared secrets, laughed together, played together. And now she was fighting for her life because she tried to run from the monster she had helped. Amaka whispered, "Can I see her?" "No," the officer said gently. "Not now. She is unconscious, and it is too dangerous for you to move." Amaka nodded, tears falling again. The officer cleared his throat. "And there is more." Everyone tensed. "We found her phone. It contains voice notes and messages. Evidence." Amaka's heart stopped. "Evidence?" The officer nodded slowly. "Voice notes between Chioma and Chief Obiora. And voice notes between Chioma and one more person." Amaka whispered, "Who?" The officer looked directly at her. "Someone who's been pretending to support you, someone who has been moving close to you, someone who knows everything about your life." Amaka staggered backward, her tears forgotten. "Who?" He sighed. Chioma wasn't working alone. Her parents gasped. Tenny froze. Amaka's body shook violently. "Who? Tell me." The officer pulled out his notebook and read from it. Chioma repeatedly mentioned that the plan to poison Richard wasn't hers. It wasn't even his mother's. She said she was following instructions from someone who promised her money and protection. Amaka felt the air leave her lungs. Then the officer said the name, a name Amaka never expected, a name that dropped like a thunderbolt, a name she trusted more than most. "Your ex-fiancé, Chaik, was part of the plan." Silence. Thunderous silence. No one moved. No one breathed. The world stopped spinning. Tenny collapsed to the floor, screaming. Amaka's father grabbed his head in disbelief. Her mother let out a cry that echoed down the entire hallway. Amaka stared at the officer, her mouth trembling. "Chaik." The officer nodded. "He pretended to warn you, just to gain your trust. He pretended to care, just to get close again. He pretended to help. But he had been working with your grandfather the whole time." Amaka felt like vomiting. He was the one leaking your location. He was the one telling them when you left the house. He was the one who told Chioma when to strike. "No," Amaka whispered, shaking her head violently. "No. He came here. He warned me. He lied." The officer said coldly. "He came to observe, to check if Richard survived, to see if Chioma talked, and most importantly, to see if you had started doubting your own family." Amaka screamed into her hands. "But why?" she cried. "Why would he do this to me?" The officer exhaled heavily. "Because Chief Obiora promised him 2 things." Amaka lifted her head slowly. The officer looked her directly in the eyes. "1, money. 2, you." She collapsed. Her mother caught her before her head hit the floor. The officer continued, voice heavy. "Chaik told Chief Obiora that if he helped deliver you, he wanted you back as his wife. Your grandfather agreed as long as Chaik helped remove Richard from the picture." Amaka's whole body went cold. Then the officer added one final thing, a sentence that shattered her soul. "And Chaik is not done. He is coming back, not as a visitor, not as a friend, but to finish what he started." Amaka covered her mouth and screamed, her voice raw and tortured. Richard's machine beeped wildly. Tenny sobbed uncontrollably. Her parents clung to each other, and Amaka realized she was surrounded not by enemies, but by predators. And the worst one was walking toward her life again. The night after Chief Obiora's call was the longest night of Amaka's life. She didn't sleep. She couldn't close her eyes. Every sound felt like footsteps. Every shadow felt like danger. Every vibration from her phone felt like another threat. She sat beside Richard's bed until morning, her hands holding his weak fingers, her chest rising and falling with silent sobs. She kept staring at the doorway, half expecting the shadow of a man with power too dark to be defeated. Her parents sat on the small couch in the corner, silent, drained, broken from secrets they had carried for decades. Tenny had cried herself into exhaustion on the floor. Even the nurses, who normally moved in quiet efficiency, walked with caution after hearing fragments of what was happening. Fear hung in the hospital room, like thick smoke. When dawn finally entered through the window, pale and weak, Amaka stood up slowly and walked to the sink to wash her face. She stared at her reflection in the mirror, eyes red, lips trembling, hair scattered, her spirit bruised and bleeding. She whispered to herself, "I don't even know who I am anymore." She touched her chest, as though trying to feel her identity beneath her skin. Not their biological child. Daughter of a woman she never met. Hunted by a grandfather who wanted her erased. A target in a war she never caused. A soft knock at the door pulled her back. The officer entered with a stern, sleepless expression. "Amaka, we found something." Her heart dropped. "Chioma?" He nodded. "Yes, but not the way we hoped." Her breath trembled. "Is she alive?" He hesitated. "Barely." Amaka leaned heavily against the wall, tears rushing to her eyes. "Oh, God." "She's in another ward," the officer continued. "Critical condition. She was found unconscious behind a bus depot with signs of torture." "Mother!" Amaka cried out, stumbling. Her mother rushed to hold her. "Did she talk?" Amaka asked through sobs. "Did she say anything?" The officer sighed. "She whispered one thing before blacking out again." Amaka's heart pounded. "What did she say?" He swallowed. "She said, 'Forgive me, it was never my plan. He forced me, he threatened my family. I didn't know he would go this far.'" Amaka sobbed. "He? Chief Obiora?" The officer nodded slowly. "It appears he manipulated her, lied to her, paid her, threatened her, used her." Tenny sobbed loudly, covering her face. "I knew she was weak, but not this weak." Amaka shook her head. "No, Chief Obiora didn't just use her. He destroyed her." There was silence. Then the officer said something that made Amaka's stomach twist. Chioma kept saying another name, repeating it over and over before she collapsed. Amaka's breath caught. "What name?" The officer hesitated. Amaka grabbed his shirt desperately. "Say it." He finally spoke. "Ezin." Amaka blinked. Once. Twice. The name meant nothing to her. "Who is that?" she whispered. Her mother gasped. Her father froze. Tenny lifted her head slowly. Amaka looked at them, fear rising again. "Who is Ezin?" Her mother could barely speak. Your mother's sister." Amaka felt the world tilt. "My biological aunt?" she whispered. Her father nodded, his hands trembling. "Yes, the only surviving relative of your mother. And she," the officer continued slowly, "is working with Chief Obiora." Amaka's knees buckled. Her mother cried, "No, no, no. Ezin cannot do this. She was kind, she used to care." The officer wiped sweat from his forehead. "Kind or not, she has been helping Chief Obiora track you. She knows your mother's secrets. She knows everything about your past." Amaka felt her heart tear painfully. "Why? Why her? Why would my aunt want me dead?" The room grew still. Her father leaned against the wall, grief heavy on his shoulders. "Because she hated your mother's love for your father. She wanted the inheritance, the land, the power. She wanted to be the only heir." Amaka shuddered violently. Her mother continued. "When your mother got pregnant, her father planned to give your child, you, the inheritance instead, the only grandchild. Ezen became nothing. Powerless. Forgotten. Amaka covered her mouth, sobbing, "So she wanted me dead, too." Her father nodded. "She has been working with your grandfather all along." Amaka felt sick. She tasted betrayal again, this time older, deeper, bloodier. Suddenly, Richard's monitor beeped sharply, pulling everyone's attention. Amaka rushed to his side. His eyes moved beneath his eyelids. His fingers twitched. His lips parted. "Richard," she whispered desperately, "can you hear me?" He inhaled shakily. Then he whispered, "Danger." Amaka leaned closer. "What danger? Tell me." Richard's voice cracked, barely audible. She's here." Amaka froze. "Who?" she whispered in terror. His chest rose and fell heavily. His eyes opened halfway. Ezen, the room erupted. The officer cursed and grabbed his radio. Tenny screamed. Her mother fainted. Amaka staggered back from the bed. "How does he know?" the officer shouted. Amaka whispered, almost choking. "Because she was here. She was the one in disguise. Not only Chioma, she was a real one, hiding in this hospital." The officer rushed to the hallway. "Seal every entrance. Now." But it was too late. Another message pinged on Amaka's phone. A picture. Amaka screamed when she saw it. It was the hospital's front gate. Open. And standing in front of it, wearing a nurse uniform, carrying a surgical tray, was a woman, her face uncovered. Cold eyes. Sharp cheekbones. A cruel smile. The caption read, "Blood has returned to claim blood." Amaka dropped the phone. "She's here," she whispered. "My aunt, she's here." Her father grabbed her. "We must leave, now." But before they could move, the power in the hospital flickered. Once, twice, then went completely off. Pitch black. The entire building plunged into darkness. People screamed. Machines beeped. Nurses shouted instructions. Richard's monitor blinked dangerously. And then a soft laugh echoed through the corridor. Slow. Chilling. Female. "Come out, Amaka." Amaka's heart stopped. "Come out," the voice repeated. "And let's end what your mother refused to finish." The officer shouted, "Get down!" Her father shielded her. Her mother sobbed on the floor. Tenny screamed. Richard began to struggle for breath. The hallway lights flickered back on for 1 second, just enough to reveal a silhouette standing at the far end. Tall, elegant, deadly. Ezen. Her eyes locked on Amaka. Her voice was cold as ice. Blood must return to blood. The night after Chief Obiora's phone call became the longest night of Amaka's life. Every tick of the hospital clock felt like a hammer striking her chest. Every footstep in the hallway made her body tense. Every whispered conversation sent fresh waves of panic down her spine. She sat beside Richard's bed like a broken soul, gripping his hand with fingers that wouldn't stop trembling. Her entire world had become one sentence. "It is your turn next." Her parents stayed close, whispering prayers, pacing from corner to corner, clinging to walls for support. Tenny refused to leave the floor where she sat, hugging her knees, rocking back and forth, guilt wrapping around her like a rope. Nurses tiptoed around the tension, whispering to each other with fear shining in their eyes. Even the hospital guards seemed unsure what kind of darkness was hovering. By dawn, Amaka looked like someone who had aged 10 years in one night. Her eyes were hollow. Her lips were dry. Her mind felt bruised from thinking too much. But she didn't move from Richard's side. Not even once. When the first light of morning touched the room, the officer returned with 2 other policemen. They looked tired, defeated, and grim. Amaka rose quickly, desperate. "Did you find Chioma? Tell me. Tell me she's alive." The officer exhaled long and painfully, the kind of breath people release before delivering devastating news. "We found her," he said quietly. Amaka's throat tightened. "Alive?" He hesitated, then nodded slowly. "Yes, she is alive, but barely." Amaka's knees buckled, and she clung to the side of Richard's bed. "What happened?" her father asked. "She was left near the riverbank," the officer said, almost unconscious, tied, bruised. They wanted her to die slowly, but someone must have interrupted them. Who? Her mother whispered urgently. We don't know, the officer admitted. Maybe a driver passing by. Maybe someone living nearby. But whoever it was, they scared them off. Amaka closed her eyes in pain. Can I see her? The officer shook his head. Not yet. She's under police protection. She's slipping in and out of consciousness. A long silence filled the room. Then the officer added, and she keeps saying one thing. Amaka's pulse raced. What? The officer lowered his voice. She says, Tell Amaka I'm sorry. Tell her I didn't know. Tell her I didn't know the truth. Amaka covered her mouth as fresh tears fell. Her mother cried softly. Her father looked away, overwhelmed. Tenny sobbed loudly, curling into herself. The officer stepped closer. Madam Amaka, Chioma also said something else before she fainted again. Amaka blinked through tears. What did she say? She said she wasn't the only one working with Chief Obiora. Amaka felt her heart drop. The officer swallowed. She said there is someone else in your life, someone very close who has been feeding him information. A cold wind seemed to pass through the room. Amaka's chest tightened painfully. And no, she whispered. Another person? Who? I hardly even know anyone. Someone you trust, the officer said quietly. Someone with access to your life. Who? She cried, trembling. He shook his head slowly. She didn't say. Amaka felt everything closing in around her. The walls, the lights, the air. Her own heartbeat sounded like thunder. Her mother rushed to her. My child, listen, this man is wicked. He will destroy us all if we let him. But why? Amaka screamed suddenly, her voice cracking with raw pain. Why me? Why does he want me dead? I didn't do anything. Her father wrapped his arms around her as she shook violently. Because you exist, my child. He does not want your bloodline to continue. He sees you as a stain on his legacy. A sharp knock on the door interrupted them. Everyone turned sharply. It was a nurse. No, it was a woman wearing a nurse uniform. But something felt off immediately. She didn't walk like a nurse. She didn't hold herself like one. She didn't even look around to check the monitors. She stepped inside slowly. Too slowly, too deliberately. Madam Amaka, she said softly, you are needed at reception. Amaka frowned. Reception? Why? The woman smiled faintly. Someone is here for you. Her mother stepped forward instantly. Who? A family member, the woman replied. At this hour? Her father snapped. Who? But the woman didn't answer. Instead, she stepped further into the room. Her smile widened, and from the corner of her pocket, a glint of metal flashed. A small syringe, filled with a clear substance. Before anyone could breathe, the officer shouted, Stop her. The fake nurse lunged. Straight toward Richard's bed. Straight toward the floor. Straight toward the unconscious man Amaka loved. Amaka screamed. Instinct took over. She threw herself forward, slamming into the woman with a force she didn't know she had. The syringe fell to the floor, skidding across the tiles. Nurses ran in. The officer tackled the woman. 2 guards jumped in, pinning her arms behind her. The woman hissed like an animal caught in a trap, her eyes burning with hatred. Amaka stood shaking violently, gripping the side of the bed to keep herself from collapsing. The officer ripped off the woman's surgical mask, and everyone gasped. It wasn't Chioma. It wasn't Richard's mother. It was someone Amaka barely recognized. Someone she had seen only once or twice before. A woman who used to work as a maid in her neighborhood when she was younger. The officer frowned. Who sent you? The woman spat on the floor. Chief Obiora, she growled. He said the girl must not live to marry, and the boy must not wake up. Amaka stumbled backward as if stabbed. Her mother screamed in fear. Her father cursed loudly. The officer tightened his grip. Where's the chief now? The fake nurse smirked. Closer than you think. Then she whispered something that froze Amaka's blood. He said he wants to see her eyes when she dies. The officer dragged the woman out as she laughed like someone possessed. The moment the door shut behind them, Amaka collapsed beside Richard's bed, sobbing uncontrollably. Her mother knelt beside her. Her father knelt too. Even Tenny clung to her feet crying. The officer returned minutes later, panting. "We have surrounded the hospital. No one gets in or out," he said. But Amaka, she looked up, tears streaming, fear shaking her bones, pain ripping holes in her soul. The officer took a deep breath. "You must understand something," he said. She blinked slowly. "Chief Obiora is not trying to kill you just because of the past." Amaka's voice cracked. "Then why?" The officer hesitated, then said, "He wants you because you are the rightful heir to his empire." Amaka gasped. Her mother covered her mouth. Her father sat heavily on the chair. Tenny's jaw dropped. "What?" Amaka whispered, trembling. The officer nodded. "Your mother was his only child. You are the only surviving bloodline. When he dies, everything becomes yours." The room went silent, completely silent. "So," the officer said quietly, "he wants to kill you now before the elders officially name you as his legal successor." Amaka stared at him with wide, shaking eyes. Her voice broke into a whisper. "So I'm being hunted because I am supposed to inherit a kingdom?" The officer nodded slowly. "And Chief Obiora will burn the world to stop that from happening." Amaka collapsed, sobbing into her hands. Her fate, her bloodline, her love, her life, her identity, all twisted into a nightmare she never asked for. The officer looked at her with pity. "That's why he said you're next," he whispered. "He wants to end the bloodline before it rises." And as the weight of that truth crushed her, Amaka realized this war was no longer about love. It was about power, legacy, revenge, blood, and the storm had only just begun. The morning after Chief Obiora's chilling phone call felt like a different kind of darkness, one that didn't come from the sky or the absence of sunlight, but from the weight of fear pressing on Amaka's chest. She barely slept, barely breathed. Every second felt like a countdown to something terrible. Every footstep in the hallway outside Richard's hospital room made her jump. Every shadow on the wall looked like a warning. Her parents never left her side that night. Her mother slept on the chair, her eyes still wet from crying. Her father sat proudly beside the door, as if daring danger to enter. Tenny curled up in a corner, restless, her guilt written all over her face. By morning, the police officers returned to the hospital, faces grim, exhausted, carrying silent news. The lead officer walked straight to Amaka, his cap held under his arm, his voice unusually gentle. "Madam Amaka, we found Chioma." Amaka felt her stomach twist violently. Her hands shook as her mother helped her stand. Is she alive?" The officer hesitated for one long, painful second. "Yes," he finally said, "but she's badly hurt. She fought her attackers. She barely made it." Amaka crumbled into tears. Relief, fear, confusion, all mixing together so fast she couldn't breathe. Her father quickly held her as the officer continued. "She was found near the old railway line. Someone must have thrown her from a moving motorcycle. She hit her head. She has broken ribs. But she is alive. For now." "For now?" Amaka whispered shakily. "She is unconscious," the officer said, "and she may not wake up immediately." Amaka wiped her face, trembling. "I need to see her." Her mother shook her head quickly. "No, Amaka, it is dangerous." The officer nodded. "Your mother is right. We cannot allow you to go there yet. If Chief Obiora knows we found her, he may come after both of you." Amaka sank into the nearest chair. Her whole world felt like it was falling apart faster than she could gather the pieces. Richard injured, Chioma nearly dead, her real grandfather hunting her like prey, betrayal circling her from every angle. She whispered shakily, "What does he want? Why won't he leave me alone?" The officer inhaled deeply, looking around before speaking. "Chief Obiora is a man obsessed with lineage, with bloodlines, with control. If he sees you as a stain on his legacy, he will try to erase you, and anyone who protects you is also a target." Amaka closed her eyes tightly. tears slipping through. "But I have nothing to do with his life." "You are the last trace of a daughter he cannot control," the officer said. "And that makes you a threat." A knock interrupted them. A nurse stepped inside, breathless. "Madam Amaka, Richard is awake." Amaka screamed softly and rushed into his room, her parents following close behind. Richard's eyes were open, tired but aware. His lips parted when he saw her. She cupped his face gently, tears streaming instantly. "You're awake," she whispered. "Oh my God, you're awake?" He managed a weak smile. "You cried too much." She laughed through her tears, her forehead pressing against his. "I thought I lost you." Richard squeezed her hand. "You won't lose me." But then his face darkened. His voice grew painful. "My mother, what she did, I remember." Amaka swallowed. "Richard, there's more." He stared at her weakly. "Tell me." She leaned closer. "It wasn't only your mother. Someone else, someone dangerous, is behind everything. My grandfather. My real one." Richard blinked slowly, shocked. "You're what?" Before she could explain further, the officer stepped inside. "Sir, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we need to relocate you." Richard frowned weakly. "Why?" The officer lowered his voice. "Your mother has gone missing from her home, and someone matching her description was spotted near the hospital last night." Amaka gasped, stepping protectively in front of Richard. "She's still trying to hurt him?" "We don't know," the officer replied, "but we're not taking chances." Richard tried to sit up, wincing from pain. Amaka quickly held him. "Don't move. Please." Her father spoke firmly. "Officer, what's the plan?" "We're moving Richard to a private, secure ward," the officer explained. "Only authorized staff will be allowed, and none of the family, not even his mother, will be given access." Richard nodded weakly. "Good." Amaka turned to her parents. "Please, don't leave me during the transfer." "We're here," her father said softly, holding her shoulders. Nurses came in, preparing Richard for transfer, adjusting his foreign oxygen. Amaka held his hand throughout, refusing to let go. As they moved to the corridor, the hospital felt like a battlefield. Guards at every door, doctors hurrying, whispers following them. Halfway down the hallway, the lights flickered. Tenny gasped. "What is happening?" A nurse froze. The generator, it shouldn't be failing. The lights flickered again, then went completely off. Darkness swallowed the corridor. Amaka screamed. "Richard!" Richard groaned softly in pain. Emergency lights blinked on, but only halfway down the hall. Half the hospital was in shadow. Her father shouted for help. Nurses panicked. Footsteps echoed in the pitch-black distance. The officer yelled for backup. Then a silhouette appeared at the far end of the hallway. Slow, still, unmoving. Amaka's heartbeat thumped painfully in her ears. The silhouette took one step forward. Her mother whispered, "Who is that?" The second step came. Louder, closer. Her father stepped protectively in front of Amaka and Richard. The officer shouted, "Who is there?" No answer. The person stepped closer, and the hallway lights flickered once more, illuminating a face Amaka wished she could forget. Richard's mother, her wrapper stained, her hair disheveled, her eyes bloodshot, her face twisted into something unrecognizable. She whispered one word, a word that made every soul in that hallway freeze. "Move." The officer drew his gun. "Ma'am, don't take another step." She ignored him. Her eyes locked on Richard. "Move," she repeated. Amaka cried out, stepping in front of the stretcher. "No." Richard's mother shook, her breath coming in sharp bursts. She looked like someone who had lost her mind completely. "You took everything from me," she screamed. "You stole my son. If I can't have him, no one will." She lunged. Amaka screamed. Richard yelled her name. The officer fired. Chaos erupted. Her mother fainted. Tenny screamed uncontrollably. Nurses ducked. Richard collapsed against the stretcher. Her father roared in fear. But Amaka didn't hear any of it. She was staring at Richard's mother, lying on the floor, bleeding, whispering words that froze her blood. "Chief, Obiora is coming for you." Then she went still. Amaka screamed harder than she ever had in her life, because she realized this was just one enemy. The real war had not even begun. The hospital felt colder that morning, too still, too quiet, too heavy, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath for what was coming. Night had been swallowed by a tense gray dawn, and Amaka sat in the chair beside Richard's bed, her head resting on his arm, her fingers intertwined with his limp ones. She had barely slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she heard Chief Obiora's voice in her ear, calm, deadly, ancient like a cursed place before she was even born. Her parents sat near the window, exhausted but alert. Tenny had cried herself to sleep in a corner chair. The nurse had dimmed the lights earlier, but dawn pushed a pale beam through the curtains, brushing lightly over Richard's face. Amaka lifted her head slowly and wiped her eyes. "Baby, please wake up. I'm drowning." Richard did not move, but the faint rise and fall of his chest reminded her that God had not abandoned him completely. A gentle knock came at the door. They all stiffened instantly. The officer entered, his face serious, his uniform neat, but his eyes full of worry. "Everyone, I need to talk to you." Amaka stood quickly. "Did they find Chioma?" she asked, her voice trembling. The officer exhaled slowly. "We found something." Her heart nearly stopped. "Something? What's something?" He hesitated. And in that brief pause, Amaka felt her soul curl in fear. "We found the car she was taken in." Amaka pressed a hand to her mouth. "Is she?" "We didn't find her inside," the officer said, "but the vehicle was abandoned near a forest path. There were signs of struggle. No body, no blood. That means she may still be alive, but whoever took her is determined." Tenny cried softly into her hands. Amaka felt a wave of emotion crash over her. Guilt, fear, grief, anger. Chioma had betrayed her. Yet she was still family, and she didn't deserve whatever hell she was in now. The officer continued, "We also discovered something else. Something that changes everything." Amaka stared at him, frozen. The officer pulled out a small envelope. Inside was a photograph. Old, slightly torn, but clear enough. It showed a young woman with striking resemblance to Amaka, holding a tiny baby wrapped in white cloth, smiling through tears, standing in front of a massive compound gate. "That woman," her father whispered painfully, "that is your biological mother." Amaka gasped, tears blurring her vision as she held the picture. The woman looked like her. The shape of the eyes, the smile, the delicate jawline. Her real mother. A mother she never knew. A mother who died trying to protect her. The officer continued, "This photo was found in Chioma's bag. That means Chioma met someone who gave her this. Someone who knows the truth." Amaka's voice cracked. "But why give it to Chioma? Why now?" "Because someone wants her to suffer," the officer said. "And someone wants you to know they found you." A cold chill crawled up her spine. "Who gave her this?" she whispered. The officer shook his head. "We're still tracing it. But we believe the real target is you, not Chioma." Amaka felt another tear fall. "Why me? Why can't they let me live?" The officer's next words made her blood freeze. "Because Chief Obiora isn't just trying to erase you. He is preparing for something bigger. A position, a throne, a legacy. And your existence threatens that legacy." Amaka's knees weakened. "I don't want anything from him. I don't even want to be related to him." The officer nodded. "He doesn't care. In his world, blood is destiny. If you exist, you are automatically a threat." Her father slammed his fist against the wall. "So he wants to kill his own granddaughter. What kind of father, what kind of human does this?" The officer sighed. "The kind of man who has killed before." Amaka felt her heart break again, but this time it broke into anger, not fear. A deeper, stronger anger that shook her bones. She clenched her fists. "I will not run anymore." Her mother jumped up. "Amaka!" "No," she whispered fiercely. "I'm tired of running. I'm tired of crying. I'm tired of hiding. Let him come." I am not the weak girl he thinks I am. My mother didn't die so I could live like a coward. The officer nodded slowly, impressed. Then you must be ready, because he is already moving. The room grew silent. Moving how? Her father asked. The officer looked at his phone. We just received intel that Chief Obiora's men landed in the city this morning. About 6 of them. Tenny gasped and clutched her mother's wrapper. Amaka's mother cried. God forbid. They must not reach her. They won't, the officer assured. Not if we move fast. I'm relocating all of you to a safe facility. No, Amaka said instantly. I'm not leaving Richard. The officer softened. I understand. Then he's coming with us. Her mother gasped. He's unconscious. I'll have an ambulance prepared. Medical team. Security escort. Everything. Amaka looked at Richard, then at her parents, then at the officer. Okay, she whispered. Let's go. Just then, Richard's fingers twitched. Everyone turned. Amaka rushed to him. Baby! Baby! His eyelids fluttered. And then, like a miracle cracking through darkness, Richard opened his eyes fully. He stared at her for a moment, confused, weak, frightened. Then he whispered, Amaka, they're coming. Amaka burst into tears. I know, but we're leaving. We're safe. You're safe now. But Richard shook his head slowly, painfully. No, he whispered. Not safe, not yet. Then he looked straight into her eyes, fear filling his face. Your grandfather is not the only one coming for you. Amaka froze. Her parents looked at each other in horror. Then who else? She whispered. Richard swallowed painfully. He said. Everyone leaned closer. Richard forced the words out. Someone inside your family is helping him. Amaka's blood ran cold. What do you mean? Who? She whispered. Richard's eyes filled with tears. He raised a shaking finger weakly and pointed directly at the doorway. Everyone turned. Standing there, her face pale, her eyes wide, her hands trembling, was her aunt, her mother's older sister, and she whispered one sentence that shattered the entire room. Amaka, please forgive me. Amaka's scream filled the hospital. The sun had not yet risen, but the heaviness of dawn already sat on everyone's chest like a prophecy. The hospital corridor, usually filled with movement and murmured conversations, now felt abandoned, as if even the walls were holding their breath. Amaka stood at the window, her hands trembling on the cold glass, her mind replaying the nightmare of the past days. Every betrayal, every message, every threat. Each one blended into a single shadow that refused to leave her soul. She had barely slept. Her mother sat nearby, her father pacing quietly, and Tenny curled in a chair, knees to her chest, unable to close her eyes. Richard was in his room, recovering slowly, still weak, still fragile, and Chief Obiora's words still echoed in Amaka's bones. It is your turn next. She closed her eyes tightly. She wanted the world to stop spinning. She wanted the danger to evaporate. She wanted her life back, but she knew life could never return to what it used to be. Her phone rang. The sound sliced through the silence. Everyone jerked. Her father rushed forward. Don't answer it. But Amaka did. Her hand shook, but she answered. A man's voice, familiar, weary, breathless, filled her ear. Madam, it's me, the police inspector. Amaka swallowed. Sir, his voice shook. We found Chioma. Tenny gasped loudly. Amaka's legs weakened. Is she alive? There was a pause. Yes, he said softly, but barely. Amaka bit her lip until she tasted blood. Where is she? She's at the station. She begged to speak with you. Amaka looked at her parents. I have to go. No, her father said immediately. You are not stepping outside. That man is hunting you. Mummy, Daddy, please, Amaka whispered. If she dies, I'll never know the truth. Her mother wiped her tears. We will all go with you. The ride to the police station felt like traveling through a graveyard of memories. When they arrived, the officers led them into a small, dimly lit room. Chioma sat on a bench, her face bruised, her lips cut, her wrist bandaged. She looked like someone who had run from death and barely escaped its teeth. When she saw Amaka, she broke down. "I'm sorry," she sobbed. "I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I never wanted it to go this far." Amaka stood still, tears falling silently. "Why?" she whispered. "Why did you betray me?" Chioma shook her head helplessly. "I didn't want to hurt you, but I got involved with something too big for me. He threatened my mother, my brothers. He said he'd destroy us if I didn't help him track you." Amaka blinked through tears. "How did he even find out I was alive?" Chioma cried harder. "Your mother's old friend, Aninkaru. She was the one who told him that the child he thought was dead might still be alive. She gave him clues. She wanted money. She didn't know how powerful he was or how dangerous." Amaka's parents exchanged a horrified look. Chioma continued, voice breaking. "By the time I realized what I'd gotten into, it was too late. He had people everywhere. And when I tried to run, they took me. They beat me. They threatened to kill me. I managed to escape last night to warn you." Amaka sobbed. "And now he's coming for me." Chioma nodded slowly. "Yes, he's furious you're still alive. He wants to finish what he started 24 years ago." Amaka felt something sharp twist in her chest. "Why does he hate me so much? I never met him. I never knew him." Chioma swallowed. "Because you were the last blood of the only person he never controlled." Amaka's father clenched his fists. The inspector stepped forward. "We have received new intelligence. Chief Obiora left his estate. He is coming to the city." Amaka's mother gasped. "Why?" Amaka whispered. The inspector's eyes darkened. "To finish it himself." Fear swallowed the whole room. Amaka's father moved forward, voice shaking with courage he didn't feel. "Then we must leave. We must hide her." The inspector shook his head. "You can't hide from a man like him. He will find you anywhere. So what do we do?" Tenny cried. "Are we just supposed to let him kill her?" A deep voice echoed from the doorway. "No." Everyone turned sharply. Richard stood there, weak, pale, bandaged, barely able to stand. But he was standing. Amaka ran to him. "You shouldn't be out of bed." He held her hand with trembling fingers. "I'm not letting you face this alone. Not again. Not with all this danger surrounding you." Tears fell down Amaka's cheeks. And then sirens blared outside. Officers shouted. A gunshot echoed in the distance. The station erupted in chaos. The inspector ran to the window and froze. Her father shouted, "What is happening?" The inspector whispered, "He's here." Amaka's blood turned to ice. The entire police station fell into panic. Officers scrambled. Radios crackled. Guns were drawn. Doors locked. But it was too late. A convoy of black SUVs blocked the road outside. Then a man stepped out of the middle vehicle. Tall, gray-haired, wearing a pristine white kaftan, surrounded by armed men. Chief Obioranwagu. Amaka's heart stopped. His cold eyes scanned the entire building until they landed on the window of the room where she stood. And he smiled. A slow, chilling smile. Amaka staggered back, almost falling, but Richard caught her. "Don't look at him," he whispered. "He doesn't own your fear." The inspector shouted, "Everyone get to the back room. Now, move." Officers guided them quickly, locking metal doors behind them, pushing desks to block entrances. Gunshots exploded outside. Amaka clung to Richard, crying silently. Her father held her mother tightly. Tenny prayed loudly, her voice trembling. Chioma covered her ears. The inspector spoke urgently. "We have backup coming. Just stay calm." But the look in his eyes said something different. This might be the end. Then, suddenly, everything went quiet. Too quiet. The kind of silence that comes right before a fatal strike. Amaka felt her entire body shake. A loud crash echoed from the hallway. Bootsteps. Slow. Heavy. Deliberate. Then a voice. Deep. Dangerous. Commanding. "Bring her out." Amaka almost fainted. He was inside. He was close. Her father stood in front of her. "You will not touch my daughter." A gunshot blasted through the wall. Her father fell to his knees, blood dripping from his arm. "Mama!" Amaka screamed. Her mother grabbed him, sobbing. Richard shielded Amaka with his body. "I'll die before I let him harm you." Boot's steps drew closer, one door remaining between her and the man who wanted to erase her existence. Tenny screamed, "Please, someone help us." Chioma sobbed uncontrollably. "I'm so sorry." The inspector pointed his gun at the door. "If he enters, I shoot." Amaka breathed heavily, shaking, then silence again. A hand touched the doorknob. Everyone braced for death. But before the door opened, sirens filled the air. Dozens of them, coming fast, louder, closer. Backup had arrived. Gunfire erupted outside again. The inspector yelled, "Federal police are here!" "He's trapped." The next minutes were chaos, shouting, running, gunshots, screams, crashes, but no one entered the room. Then silence. Long, terrifying silence. Finally, a federal officer opened the door. "It's over," he said. "He's been arrested." Amaka collapsed, sobbing so hard her body shook violently. Richard held her tightly. Her mother fell to her knees in tears. Her father winced in pain but smiled in relief. Tenny praised God loudly. Chioma cried quietly, knowing she had helped cause all this. But it was over. The nightmare was over. Hours later, in the quiet hospital room, Amaka sat beside Richard again. This time, not in fear, but in fragile peace. He held her hand gently. "It's done," he whispered. "Yes," she said, leaning her head on his shoulder. "It's finally done." He kissed her forehead softly. "You're safe now. No more running." Amaka exhaled for the first time in days. No more running. The sun finally rose outside, painting the sky gold. A new beginning. A painful story closed. A new life waiting to be written. Amaka closed her eyes, letting the warmth touch her soul, and whispered, "Thank God."